How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Gen Con TV. It's TableTakes. We're going to be talking about some board game news, just like always. But unlike always, we don't have Noir today, unfortunately. But he'll be here later. Don't worry. We're going to see him later for Gen Con TV TableTakes Game Night.
Yes.
We're going to be playing Dungeon Crawl Classics. How exciting is that? Yeah, I worked real hard to make all the maps and get you guys characters and teach you all the rules. You guys watched the videos I sent you, right?
Yes, we did watch the videos, both videos.
Great, thank you so much.
All those videos.
Okay, great. Well, with that out of the way, let's check in with some of our hosts. Starting with you, Peter. What you been up to?
Hey, well, the big news here in Seattle is that it's getting chilly this week. This week was like, oh, summer might be ending. And what that means in my house is that at least 2 or 3 times a week from now until May, my wife is going to say, maybe it'll snow tonight.
Already?
Eternal hopeful. No, she hasn't said it yet, but I know it's coming. It won't be long. My wife loves the snow. Snowshoeing is one of our favorite things to do in the winter.
Oh, that's great.
She just gets excited. So anyway, that's my big news for today.
Thank you so much for sharing, Peter. Bonsai, what about you? What you been up to?
I am just coming down. Of course, last weekend was PAX. I may have hung out with some certain handsome fellow that's also in this stream during that time. But I did end up having a lot of fun at PAX. Even though I did end up getting like low energy at one point, I had to take a nap. I had to take a power nap. But I think the most thing I'm excited about from that PAX is that the big 6th floor was dedicated to board games, and I got Chai. It's a game that I was hoping to. I didn't kickstart in time, but they had it there. I ended up splurging, got myself the deluxe collection, and I can't wait because I'm going to be playing it on my stream tomorrow. I finally got my partner, my hubby, to start playing board games with me on stream. So we're going to be showing this game off. I'm going to open it up. Ooh, so nice. And play it tonight and then play it again tomorrow.
I'm so happy for you. I remember being at PAX with you and seeing you demo that game, and you were so excited for it. So that's awesome. Yes. I'm glad you got yourself a copy. I was also at PAX this weekend, like I said. I picked up a lot of stuff I was not expecting to.
I was sure.
I picked up Hero Quest because of how I loved it at Gen Con. I picked up a game that I haven't been able to find since I saw it last year's PAX. It's the Hidden Treasure of Monte Cristo, which is like a cooperative treasure hunting game with like little cubies and maples. And lately, I have been playing Acropolis. Oh, it's blurred. Hold on one second. It's censored. I'm not allowed to show it on the screen. Hold on one second. Acropolis, you might have remembered the name at least from Gen Con, because it was one of the big, huge titles from the Hachette booth. And it's all about laying these tiles down. And trying to get like adjacency bonuses and things like that. It's so simple. It's so much fun to play. And I brought it here to Portland with me because I'm here for Rose City Comic Con. That's right. So busy. I can't stay away from all of the cons. I have to go to all of them. So that's what I've been up to. I've been so busy. And I know y'all have been busy too, collecting all the news of tabletop board gaming. So let's jump into it. Why don't we?
Into the deep end.
Yes. Okay. So I will really quickly turn my blurred background on real fast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk about the first headline. I'll go first. This one comes to us from Watsy. And thank you to Chase Carter of Dicebreaker for giving us this article to talk about. So some of you may know about Spelljammer and how it was recently released. It was a huge flagship for the year for Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition. You might have also heard of 1D&D and how a lot of the changes have been going on. Well, one change in particular that I think is particularly timely is the Spelljammer revisions that are going on for a little bit of backlash that the company Wizards of the Coast has been getting from several people who are pointing out online that some of the text about one of the races in particular is depicting something a little too close to life that I think ends up being a little insensitive. I think somebody might have been a little bit absent-minded when they were creating it. So the whole thing, to explain it in layman's terms, we've got the Hadozee race. And now this is a race of these people, these travelers across the astral sea who were slaves. They were sort of given sentience by a wizard and then, well, used as slaves, basically. But then another wizard came by, and all of a sudden he was very fond of the enslaved Crete warriors and lifted them and liberated them and freed them. And now you're starting to see maybe some of the parallels that are going on there. Well, WotC has come out with a statement that they are doing an internal review, as well as removing all known references to the Hadozee from all the lore from their digital versions. I don't know what this means for all of the physical copies of books. Hopefully we're getting some new ones with those revisions made. But in a statement by WotC, I'll quote it here. They said, "We failed you, our players and our fans, and we are truly sorry. We've initiated a thorough internal review of the situation and will take the necessary actions as a result of that review." So we can speculate on what this means. Hopefully it means that they might be listening to some of the folks out there who have expressed their concerns, perhaps hiring on someone, a consultant perhaps, to help smooth over some of these issues. Maybe an editor to look over some of the previous content that they've been making or the content that's coming out right now, and hopefully do that review like they said they're doing and make the necessary changes so people don't get hurt by picking up an RPG that they heard was really popular and wanted to be really excited about. What do you guys think?
I think that they are trying to make steps towards that, as you can see with the new Citadel that they have published. WotC is trying to make steps, but it's still good to call them out because, hey, it's like, hey, I know you're trying, but you could try a little bit better. Maybe have a consultant, other than just having consultants, you can put people who know to spot this and can spot these things in higher positions, maybe, versus just, hey, these are consultants, maybe give them permanent. At least for me, my opinion is that maybe they should give these folks that they are considering as consultants a permanent position that is of higher authority in there so they can catch these before it gets published.
Yeah, I know that I personally put a lot of emphasis on the safety discussions and the red lines that we don't cross when we're playing RPGs and things like that. And it can be a little disconcerting for a GM to pick up a book like this, get it ready for their players, try to learn more about Spelljammer, and then find something like this that, they're not sure if they need to use it or not, if they want to stay true to the lore. Are other people doing this? How to feel about it? So it's good to see that they agree with the people that are disagreeing with their decision. And it looks like things are in the works at the very least. I guess we'll just have to stay tuned and see what they do next.
Yeah, I think, kudos to WotC for coming out with the apology and coming out with it promptly. I know a lot of people that work at Wizards who I'm sure when this happened were like, oh my gosh, how the heck did we let this happen? That had to have been a rough day at Wizards. And so, but they're doing the right thing, and this is the type of stuff that we can't have anymore. We shouldn't have. That's a good thing that we're getting. Moving on and getting rid of some of the stuff that makes people uncomfortable and is inappropriate to having a published work from such a high quality company.
Yeah. Let's see how Munchkin is evolving in the industry of tabletop gaming. Peter, why don't you tell us our next headline?
Yeah, so Munchkin, which is the old game from Steve Jackson games where you go adventuring and kill monsters. I mean, it like really embraces some of the more hack and slash elements of Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy role playing, and does it in a card game. And it's a fun game. It's one of Javion's favorite games, I hear. Oh wait, no, I think least favorite. That was
almost.
Oh, it has some amazing art from John Kovalik, who's been on our show before. He's a great guy. Well, they're coming out with a digital version, a video game based on Munchkin. They have Steve Jackson Games. They licensed it to the same company that did Root Digital, called Dire Wolf. And so Munchkin Digital is going to adapt the fantasy board game about hunting monsters and exploring dungeons into a video game. The video game will see players venturing into a dungeon in search of enemies to fight in order to gain new levels, with the eventual goal of reaching level 10. And I just, me personally, I mean, it should go to 20 or 30 at least. But hey, that's just me, full power gamer here. So players will be able to equip various cards and will grant them buffs and abilities such as classes and equipment that will aid them against monsters they'll face along the way. It's going to maintain the signature art style from John Kovalik. And it has a mechanic where if you go to fight a monster, you can ask your friends, the other players, if they want to help you defeat the monster. But if they do, you have to split the loot with them, of course. So it's fun that has to be a rule. I think, that's cool. So, so this, if you just can't find enough people to play Munchkin with you, and you need to play more Munchkin, soon you'll be able to do it digitally. So cool. Way to go, Steve Jackson.
I hope they're going to have a flip the table feature like they do in Tabletop Sims. So
yeah.
Flip the table. I love that one, especially if it's like games like Munchkin.
That's what I did the last time I played Munchkin. I actually did flip the table in Tabletop Simulator. I still have to flip those people since then. I wonder how they're going to. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
No, I wanted to flip the table. I didn't mention things I did this week. I also went to PacificCon last weekend, and there was one game I played in where there was that player who thought, hey, maybe one way I could deal with this is flip the table. I actually thought about flipping the table, but I didn't because that just doesn't come out right on social media when you do that.
I'm proud of you.
You could just blame it. I feel like you could be like, whoops, I tripped.
Oops.
Whoops. Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering how they're going to implement all of the negotiation and tactics in a digital version, because I know that in actual Munchkin, you can not only help other people, but you can play curses on people to interrupt things that they're doing. I mean, I'll tell you about the one time I was playing Munchkin, and then before we even played any cards or took the first turn, somebody cursed me and made me discard my hand before I could get anything onto the table. Oh. I wonder if they're going to implement that. I hope they do.
I don't know. They have it in the article, which came to us courtesy of Alex Meehan at Dicebreaker. There's a screenshot of this, and it looks nice and crisp and clean. I mean, the screenshot of the game looks pretty, looks really nice. And it has, up in the upper right corner, it has the little icons for the player. I mean, like little images of the player 1, player 2, player 3. So I don't know if you can go up there and chat with them, or if I don't see a chat feature, but I mean, when people play, they just open up a chat in Discord or something and talk smack all they want. I don't know. Who knows?
Just whisper everybody.
Well, there's going to be online multiplayer and a solo mode. So hopefully we will see some new changes to spice the game up a little bit. Hey, speaking of spicy games, Bonsai, I think you have a headline you wanted to share with us, right?
Yes, I got a little spice to add a little bit of flavor. If anybody's looking for games that you might want to take a look at that are being announced, Elizabeth Hartgrave, the creators, of course, of Wingspan, the card collecting bird themed game, she has basically announced that she is going to make a venture away from animal based things, because I believe she also made the fox game. I can't remember. J-Van, do you recall? There's a Fox game she made.
The Fox Experiment.
The Fox Experiment. Okay, sorry. So she's going to expand farther away from animals and into mother tree themes, or the concept is centered around the symbiotic relationship between mushrooms and plants, which is quite interesting. I love the art style in a lot of her games. I have Wingspan. I play it almost like once a month, at the very least once a month, out of all the board games I have. And I'm just very excited about these games that kind of are educational, but not educational, that a lot of these like educational games usually are. A lot of them are like, that one is just educational for kids, it's not really for adults. But it's kind of tricking people into learning about things. And I just really like that. So there's not really any details about it, but please look forward to that if you're into the mushrooms. If you're into shrooms, man.
I mean, who wouldn't be, right? I mean, they're very seasonal fungi, I think.
Yeah, Washington.
Speaking of seasons. Speaking of seasons, I don't know if you know this, but Dragon Shield every year comes out with some Christmas-themed sleeves. And this year, we're riding along on Santa's red-nosed dragon. That's right, not a reindeer, dragon, as we head into Christmas for 2022. It's going to be the TCG accessories by Arcane Tin Men that are going to have Rudolph depicted as a giant dragon. Very cool. Last year, I believe it was also very dragon related because, Dragon Shield, except it's a picture on the sleeve of a fake Santa, like a mall Santa, and his beard falling off as a dragon's breathing fire on this person and just like causing all kinds of mayhem. So sticking with the theme of dragons, but also making it Christmas themed for all of the Magic players and other TCG players who just love using Dragon Shield out there. Looks like it's going to retail for $9.49, and in that you get a 100. Sorry, the Japanese size sleeves are in 60 count boxes for $9.49 each, but you can also get the standard size sleeves in 100 count boxes for $14 each. Or you can even get the play mat that comes with a soft fabric top and stitched edges to prevent fraying for just $22.99. Check out the link in chat if you want to see some full-sized images of these sleeves and decide if you want to take them for yourself. I know a lot of people like myself keep the boxes that the sleeves come in as well, because I mean, the art's good enough for the sleeves. It's also good enough to keep the cards in too. So yeah, very cool. Very big Christmas fan, also very big decorating fan. So I had to show off this one. It's really, really cool.
It actually is really cool.
I know, Peter, you were just talking earlier about how your wife loves the snow and how Christmas is coming. Maybe this would be a good present for her if she's a gamer.
Oh yeah, I think she'd really love this. The art especially. That's right up her alley.
Yeah, it's if you haven't clicked and seen the picture, it's actually pretty cool. Santa is looking very baller with a candy cane scythe cane. I don't know. It looks like definitely like wartime Santa. And
at first I thought there were tentacles running up, but no, those are the horns off the reindeer. It's like, yeah, it's a rad Santa, that's for sure. The Santa's ready to throw down.
I love it. All right, let's move on to our next headline. Bonsai's going to lead this one about GameFound.
Yes. Hey, so if you guys want to know, GameFound, which is another company that is a backer-based company where, they present the games, creators present their games, you fund them, and, eventually we'll get the game, just crowd resources, similar to Kickstarter. By the way, but yes, during this time, of course, during the pandemic, and as we go along with more shipping issues, getting transportation issues, supply issues, they basically have found that significantly a lot of the games happen to increase the costs just randomly happen because you never know with supply chains and such. How are these going to work out? So they announced a stable pledge program. So GameFound announced their stable pledge program as an opt-in initiatives for creators on their platform to guarantee that even if prices rise by 10 or more percent of the original product, the backers have an option to like get 100% guaranteed refund from the creator. And also the creator, by opting into this program, Game Founder will make sure that in return, they will also cut the refunded pledge. Those pledges that were given and refunded, the game creator doesn't really lose it. So you don't get this chance of, oh no, I got funded, but then because of this increase of cost, everybody pulled their funds. They're still going to allow the creator to get those with a slight cost, like basically taking back what their cut would have been and just giving that straight back to the creator. So it's more of a safety catch for both the creator and for the backer themselves. I think most notably, I believe that happened in Kickstarter. That was one of the games ended up being like stuck in a warehouse because the warehouse would not release the game. It's completely packaged and made to order, but increased the sales by $30 for each backer, which is a big cost to suddenly come out of nowhere. So that's kind of just to combat that kind of issue popping up to people. So I really like this, and I like that GameFound is like I said, competition breeds greatness.
Yeah.
And this is something that is both good for the creator and for the backers themselves. What do y'all think?
Well, I've definitely seen a lot of Kickstarters that have been successfully funded. I know that's like the first layer of protection. If it gets funded, then great. If we don't get enough money, we're not going to make it. You get your money back. That's like the first layer, right? But on Kickstarter, once your money's with them, you're either just waiting and waiting and waiting for, your content to come get mailed to you, or it just never happens and you're just strung along for a long time. This is awesome to hear. I would love to start using GameFound more often, knowing that I might get my money back. I would have to wait too long, or if the backers just, fall on hard times and can't actually do something. I'm really happy to hear that they're taking this very seriously. And I love the headline that they chose for this article, securing your pledge in unstable times. Very clever.
I think it's interesting that Kickstarter, started, I don't know what, 15 years ago. I'm not quite sure, big crowdfunding now with multiple crowdfunding sites. And this idea of crowdfunding continues to have new nuances that come along. And I'm friends with a French publisher who I was talking to at Gen Con, who had hit, because of the problems in COVID, increasing the manufacturing and shipping costs, the cost of goods for a game that he was publishing increased by a factor of 3. He says we always plan for increases of 10%, or something like that. That's just normal. But what do you do when you collect money up front and then before you deliver the product, your cost basis goes completely out of whack? And it's a complex problem. It's interesting that the whole crowdfunding thing of getting your cash up front as a publisher sounds great, but it exposes you to things that could go wrong, and I think sometimes, this guy's a professional business person, but sometimes, anybody can go and start a Kickstarter. So it's really easy for publishers to get into trouble by, even experienced publishers, because their cost basis changed or they didn't anticipate the full range of what the cost would be, making all the components, all their stretch goals, all the different things that they decided to do. So, it's money is never easy. It's one of the things I say.
Yeah,
so.
Of course.
Yeah.
With GameFound, I definitely think that them turning their platform more into user first instead of user second. You know what I mean? With BackerKit, sort of integrating all of that into their platform more stably, I think, is definitely working out for them, because every time I've used them, I've had a really great experience. I love the layout for all of their different crowdfunding projects. So it's always a pleasure when I get to jump over to them. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for that headline. Let's move on to our next one. Peter, why don't you tell us more about our new Ravensburger release?
Yes. So we covered this a couple of weeks ago. Ravensburg announced that they're doing a game called Lorcana, which is based off of Disney properties. So, really big news in the world of trading card games. That a major publisher is going to work with a license as big as Disney. But there wasn't much to report at the time about what the game would be like or what it would look like. Well, on comicbook.com, there's a new article that came out that, for the first time, shows several of the cards from Lorcana. They show, and these are all characters from various Disney properties: Stitch and Elsa, Cruella de Vil, Maleficent, Robin Hood, and Captain Hook are the cards that are featured. So if you go to comicbook.com, you can find this article and you can see these cards, or click on the link in chat if it shows up there. We have, some of the cards will have foil treatment, and they also interviewed Ryan Miller, who is one of the designers on the project. I can vouch for Ryan. He has a long list of credits in trading card games. He worked for me back in Wizards of the Coast days in the 90s. And so that's very exciting. I mean, they've got somebody working on this game who's really good. And he says that he believes that the game will be easier to learn than some trading card games, like that should have a low barrier to entry in terms of learning the gameplay, but that there will be a surprising level of depth of play and combinations that you can get with various cards and the type of things that people would expect for building their deck. Ryan also promised that there would be an extensive organized play program for Lorcana in tabletop, in hobby game stores. That's great. I think the question I have in my mind, which I don't have, we don't have an answer for, there's nothing in this article that really alludes to it yet, is like, will they be able to take advantage of the massive Disney media and advertising and marketing sort of structure that is out there to promote this game? Because we can look back at, say, Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are these great examples of trading card games that were hugely popular, and it's known that the sales of these games were so big because they were able to effectively link the trading cards in the trading card game to the Saturday morning cartoon series and so on. I don't know if it was on Saturday morning, but that just seemed like the right way to say it. Animated TV shows that were on air to promote these products. And so I think that a lot's going to depend on whether or not they can effectively leverage the marketing of Disney to get this game out there. If Disney is just going to be like, oh, yeah, we signed a license and Ravensburger is all out on their own, then I think it's going to be harder. Like with many trading card, it's hard to launch a trading card game in this industry and have it, you can look, there's a much, much, much longer list of trading card games that have failed than trading card games that have succeeded. And some of those games have been based on good licenses. So the game looks good. It's got good people working on it. The idea of something simpler, but with more depth of play than maybe you would expect of a Disney-themed game is all good. But how is this game really going to get marketed? That's my question.
I think one of the bigger things to allude to the fact that Disney, their success with Villainous really pushed them out. I think that them just showcasing it as at the D23, the Disney 23 Expo, like basically end of the year Disney big event, like a lot of people, especially who are very fanatic Disney fans, go to these expos. And just that the fact that they are bringing it to this expo and already hyping it up, they're having an exclusive card that is only going to be I think the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Tailor is exclusively only for this expo, which is, I feel like, is them kind of pushing that card. Disney itself has been making a lot of moves on a lot of various different properties, and as they can see, they're getting success in Villainous. Next big step is to get this card game launching. I see it, especially if it's something that catches, especially in the international market, in Japan, where card games and such are just because I know Disney, I mean, at least from my understanding, because I really like Disney way more than I should be. Especially like for Disneyland Japan, their marketing and merchandising there is just phenomenal. And if you ever go and research like different areas of like marketing and what they produce for various different areas, there's like definitely you can see Disney like, yes, we will get into this market to make lots of money. You know?
I hope you're right. You know, I also know from, you know, that sometimes companies that are licensors, you know, they're happy to sell a license to their game, or like a gaming license for their intellectual property. And, you know, and it's great that they're doing stuff at D23. I just I'm a bit cynical, I guess, about how much oomph they'll put into it in the long run. Right. I don't know. Maybe they will. I hope you're right, Bonsai.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not detecting any convention or expo jealousy, am I?
No. Not a, no. That's not it at all. I just think I've just seen too many cases of somebody gets a great license and does a great job with the license, but doesn't get that much support from the licensor. And because it's typical licensor attitude is that you're making the investment in this product and great, go have fun, make your investment, you market it, you know. And I mean, I get that. So, yeah, I mean, we just have no way of knowing how well it'll work out. I hope it works out great. It looks good. The game looks good. And it'll certainly sell a certain amount just off the power of the Disney name.
Hey, speaking of good-looking games, have you ever wanted your board games or your miniatures games to look a little bit better? Have you tried miniatures painting, but thought maybe it's just a little bit too advanced for you? Well, Andrews McNeil Publishing just revealed a new book called Arcane Arts, The Dungeoneer's Guide to Miniature Painting and Tabletop Mayhem. This is a book by Knox Weiler Burf. Awesome name. Apparently has a long history with miniatures games and creating content much like this. Arcane Arts is going to be teaching tabletop miniature painting for tabletop games, not just miniatures games, but also for your favorite board games like Rising Sun or Scythe or whatever miniatures games come unpainted for you. So it's going to offer a series of milestone quests within its ability to teach you how to paint these miniatures. It's meant to engage beginners in their first steps of selecting a miniature to prepare for gameplay. So it's great if you're just learning how to paint something and you really just want something for your D&D game or other licensed RPG game. But it's also great if you want to actually build something for yourself out of your own collection of board games that you already have. It's going to retail for $30. Unfortunately, it won't be out until November 15th, I believe, unfortunately. But it's got a lot of content out already that you can take a look at. I mean, I was just looking at it on Amazon just earlier today, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of really cool content. It doesn't just show you how to paint it. It doesn't just like guide you step by step. It also helps you get excited for it. Like you're rolling dice to create stories for your miniatures as you're painting them. I'm looking at a page here where it's got like a randomized table where you're using like normal 6-sided dice, and you're just coming up with like a backstory to help you think about like, oh, maybe I could put, just like a metal shield on my knight, but maybe I want to put like an insignia from his like family's crest or from a battle that he stole the shield from ages ago or something like that. This looks really fun. It looks like it takes teaching a skill to the next level, to like its next step to actually get people excited to do it. And I'm also just like now really curious about other Knox Weiler Burf. I love that name. I'm very curious about his other works. Apparently he's a very professional miniature painter and instructor. So, you guys know how much I love teaching things, how much I love guiding other people to treasures that I found myself. So This looks really cool. Like I said, it's going to retail for $30, but I believe on Amazon right now you can get it for $20 for its pre-order value. So definitely something to check out. I don't know if you guys actually paint miniatures yourselves. I'm sure, Peter, you've got plenty of pre-painted miniatures. I've seen some from at Gen Con, right?
I don't like, I like painted miniatures. The pre-painted miniatures, I just don't think quite hold up to the quality that I want in my miniatures. I have painted miniatures. I have an army of works that I painted, thanks to my friends Douglas and Carol Bailey, who are avid miniatures painters. I also occasionally buy hand-painted miniatures from people who are really good at it.
That's great. Support them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I also have hand painted miniatures as well. It's a nice relaxing thing. I do have a whole Ninja Turtles of turtle people with set that I have. I mostly, when I do painting of miniatures, it's to make just funny details. I'm more of the comic, like, how do I make this look like the cartoon characters as I could? So hyper realistic models, but painted to look like various different cartoon characters is how I roll. So I have a wizard that looks like Mickey Mouse's robes and stuff like that. So I do highly suggest, if you need something that kind of calms you down. But it is, I will say, for like tinier details like eyes and like shield details and getting those, it does aggravate me when you have that, like, really, you got to put your hand down so you can do the dip, because your hands would be shaky. And I'm like, no, I just need a little tiny dot.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was painting miniatures when I was a younger man in college, and my little sister, who's about 13 years younger than I am, so I think she was like 8. She saw me painting miniatures. She really wanted to paint miniatures, and I could never been able to tell her no to anything she wanted. Aww. And so I gave her a bunch of skeletons to paint, and so she just had fun as an 8-year-old painting these skeletons, and they ended up looking really good. I mean, as skeletons, yeah. They're different colors. They're punk skeletons. It was fun.
What about you, Javion?
Well, I have painted a couple. Actually, at Gen Con last year, if you can believe it, they had a free-to-paint booth for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and you could, like, pick which miniatures that you wanted. So it didn't have to just be Age of Sigmar. It could have been like 40K or whatever. But I like fantasy, so I went with Age of Sigmar. And I learned how to paint one mini, and I was super excited. When I was done with it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I actually did it. I had people in there to help me. I definitely needed a guide or something like that. So yeah, definitely check out Arcane Arts if that sounds exciting to you as well. So we're going to jump into our next headline. This is going to be our last headline, but it's going to be a very fun one. Peter, why don't you just tell people what it is?
Yeah, I will. I just want to add real quick that the Arcane Arts article was brought to us from ICV2. Jeffrey Dom Sanchez over there. We get a lot of articles from them, so thank you. This next article is from Dicebreaker, and specifically the editor-in-chief, Matt Jarvis, is announced that next month on Kickstarter, drumroll please, there will be a Monty Python role-playing game. I can only imagine what this is going to be like. And it's the craziness starts with the name. It's called Monty Python's Co-Curricular Medieval Reenactment Programma. Yeah, it's a ridiculous name. And it comes with Fletcher's La Vacha mini game. Of course it does. Yeah. So this is an official licensed Monty Python tabletop RPG coming to Kickstarter next month. It is the game. Like I said, the name, which because nobody else will ever call it that, draws from the British comedy troupe's entire backlog of television shows and movies, live performances and music albums, from The Flying Circus to The Holy Grail and The Life of Brian. As you might expect, it's Monty Python, The Holy Grail, that serves as the key inspiration for co-curricular medieval reenactment programs, mock medieval world with players setting out on epic quests in a Middle Ages Britain, albeit with a heavy dose of Python-esque absurdity. So this RPG will couple its setting with an original gameplay system said to be rules light and designed for one-shot sessions and shorter campaigns. Replacing the stock classes seen in likes of Dungeons and Dragons are situations inspired by Python's roster of ridiculous on-screen characters, varying from oppressed peasants, ne'er-do-wells, monks, nuns, and troubadours to knights, clerics, magical enchanters, nobles, and royalties. So you will have traits such as glibness, musicianship, wisdom, and the ways of science, chastity, and humility. So you begin with a character like that in a starting situation, and you just go from there. It uses dice, and depending on how silly or serious the relevant trait's current level is to what size of dice you roll. So I'm immediately curious, and we're like, do you get rewarded for being silly and absurd? And if so, you get a bigger dice, because I mean, that would, feed the sort of experience I think that you want with that game. We'll find out. We'll find out. So I'd sign me up. I'll be definitely buying this one.
I'm just surprised they haven't tried to tackle this before. Like, if you took a Venn diagram of like people who play D&D and tabletop games and people who've watched Monty Python, it's like almost a complete 100% circle on circle. It's just something that, like, I guess like tabletop gamers are just really love that humor. I think I do like when I looked more into this article, I like that the GM also gets a role-playing moment where they randomly roll and they can become like various different styles of directors that they're supposed to be. So they might roll and then have to be somebody who's like a historian that's very upset about the inaccuracies that are being placed in this game, or they could be a sports fan. They're like, we need more action, more lens flares, more explosions, kind of. So I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too. I personally don't have a ton of experience with Monty Python. I think the only time I ever watched it was when I was actually forced to by my English teacher back in middle school, who was just like, you have to watch the Holy Grail.
You had a great English teacher. Wow.
It's required viewing. That and like Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other stuff he was obsessed with. So yeah, I definitely had a great English teacher. Do you have a favorite sketch, Peter?
I think the guy that's trying to return the parakeet, and the parakeet is dead. And no, he's just sleeping. No, he's dead. Anyway, I can't do it, but yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Or the argument room. So that's a great one.
Oh, the argument room is one of the better skits.
I'm here for an argument. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I. No, you're not. That's not an argument. That's just anyway. Blah blah blah. So yeah. So many moments.
I think one of the more popular Monty Python sketches that I like, that is still a tradition to this day in many areas, is the funny walking competition. People have actually taken that as a real thing that you can do. And so like every now and then as an anniversary for that skit, people just walk a certain amount of blockage, or like would you say that's a marathon of sorts of just ridiculously walking as weirdly as they can.
Absolutely. The amount of effort that goes into it, 100%. Thank you all so much. I knew I could count on both of you to help me with some Python sketches. Now I got some homework to do, but that's going to do it for all of our headlines for today. But that is also going to lead us into everyone's favorite segment. Bundle Boss, it's Peter.
Hi, JBR. Thank you. I am the Bundle Boss for this episode of TableTakes. So, Bundle Boss is in case you don't know, like I always feel the need to explain the Bundle Boss situation, because when I first got on TableTakes, what are you guys talking about with the Bundle Boss? So I will explain in case you're like me and you're a grognard, you're not quite sure what the bundle situation is. So every once in a while, like frequently enough that we have it as a regular segment on TableTakes, who knew, there is some company out there will offer a bundle of products at a discount. Okay. So that makes sense. But with that comes what's called first of all, it's always a hell of a deal, like really like super cheap for, a bunch of games and stuff. If you pay a little at some threshold price voluntarily above that, then it kicks in a charity element to it where the incremental money goes to charities. So it's a good way to get maybe older games that are a little bit less popular now, but are really worth checking out for a good deal. So this week, the bundle situation is True 20 by Green Ronin. So Green Ronin has, first of all, they're a great company. They've done a lot of great things. And the True 20 is their streamlined sort of D20, the kind of their system that they came up with as part of the D20 raids that was happening. Just yesterday, but more like 20 years ago. And so this game system was used in Mutants and Masterminds, which came out in 2002, and Blue Rose, and they've done a lot of expansions for it. It's very similar to D&D 3.x or Pathfinder. That's kind of the era that it's from. But so for this bundle, for just $7.95, you get all of their core edition products, which is the True 20 Revised Core Book from 2008. It's Campaign Planner. I'm picturing like one of those calendar planners where you write down your action items for the day. I think it's probably a little different than that. And also the True 20 Bestiary. So if that's for $7.95, you get all three of those books. If you pay the threshold price of $19.83, that's a great year, by the way, you will level up and get their entire bonus collection with 6 more supplements worth an additional $61, at least back in 1983, or whenever it was, including all 3 of the rule book rules expansions, the Expert Handbook, the Adept's Handbook, and the Warrior's Handbook, plus Fantasy Paths, True Sorcery, and Cybernetics. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, this is like for less than $20, you get all of that. And so 10% of your payment after the gateway fees will be donated to this True 20s offers pandemic-related charity Direct Relief. Direct Relief sends protective gear and critical care medications to health workers with emergency deliveries to medical facilities across the U.S. and Canada and to regional response agencies around the world. How's that, Javion?
I love it. You're the greatest bundle boss ever. Thank you so much, Peter.
No, I'm not. I know what that's code for. That's code for you have to do it every week now.
Good job. Now you're hired. You're hired, Peter. You're hired.
Congratulations.
All
right.
Thank you.
All right. Cause for celebration. We are on to our next segment. It is Crowdfunder Court. That's right. The time has come for you to plead your case before our court of jesters. Peter, would you please judge us for today's court? We need somebody to let us know if these Kickstarters are up to standard.
Yeah, because I was lame and didn't come forward with a case. I now get to be the judge. Right. Yes. That's what happens if you don't come forward with a case. Not only don't you have the risk of losing, you get to be the judge. Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
And I nominate Bonsai to go first.
Nomination approved. Bonsai, you may approach the bench.
Captain, I shall go ahead and lead with Power Lines. This is on GameFound, by the way. We might have just said something about GameFound. But with 4 days left, it's a dice selection game that's supposed to be easy to learn rules and fast gameplay. It is a 1 to 6 player game, which I don't know if you're like me, it's hard to find anything that's over 4 players. That's why I was like, yes, 6 players, perfect. It is a power management themed game that's all about promoting eco-friendliness and even distribution. Oh my goodness, that's a hard word. Of power and resources. It's a game just basically managing the workers and figuring out where each of the dice need to go to make the most optimal power grid to go to each individual city. The cooler thing about this is that Powerline is part of a whole quest this gaming company has called, sorry, 1 second, because I forgot to write it down, Green Planet, for a Green Planet, which is a product line from Queen Games. They're trying to organize, like, hey, the planet, it's dying. I don't know if you noticed, there's global warming and stuff. So their whole idea is that they're going to be designing games that promote and educate people on how they might be able to process things that are more equally friendly. And also they're making their a point to minimize environmental impact of their gaming supplies and trying to make the product that you get most environmentally friendly and sustainable as possible. So if that's something that interests you, it, like I said, it has 4 days left, and it is called Power Lines.
Wow. Very excellent.
What do we think?
Excellent presentation, Bonsai. The court approves of your submission to Crowdfunder Court. Excellent job. All right. Attorney Javion, what have you got for the court today?
Well, really quickly, I just want to say about Bonsai's crowdfunder. I didn't really like Power Grid when I first played it, and a lot of people really love that game, but it uses a lot of how do I put this? Unfriendly eco energy sources. So this is really cool, and I love that it uses dice, and I don't have to bid for what I want. So this is great already. I'm super on board.
You didn't like to build coal plants and
no. But you should be happier, Javion. It's mostly dice. That's mostly dice.
Absolutely.
Well, and I don't think
that's exactly what I want in a
processing plants. Fair enough. All right. Well, I think, yeah, good.
Well, you know how much I love dice. So let me show you a Kickstarter that's all dice. It's called Lying Pirates. This Kickstarter is a dice game. Whoever is the first to finish their trip wins, and it's a game for 2 to 6 players. It's a race for the pirate throne, and it only lasts about 10 to 15 minutes per player. It's modular, it's fast-paced. You'll always be playing a new game every time you play it, and it comes with 2 expansions. You got the base game. You got 2 ways to make it even more fun. So maybe you've heard of a little game called Liar's Dice, in which you roll dice and secretly hide them, and maybe don't tell anybody how many of what kinds of dice you have, and try to lie and get other people to bid on a number of dice that you think everyone has in their collection. Well, this game takes that to the next level.
Wow.
You are collecting not only dice, but cards and tiles and even tokens. There is so much treasure in this game, not only to be had while playing the game, but literally just in the box. I mean, it's a huge box with tons of content for such a short game. Here's how it works. In the first phase, you play Liar's Dice, right? So you roll your dice, you try not to lose a bet, but you have to keep upping the ante until somebody says liar. And then hopefully you win your bet and you get to stay in, you're the winner. And the person who called you a liar, they lose, and they lose their bet. They lose a couple of their treasures, and they're not allowed to sail around like the rest of you do. But while you're sailing with the other survivors of the bet, you actually have to compete in sort of a battle game, a custom-made battle dice. You're rolling them to see who can get like the most swords against skulls and defending and all of this other cool stuff in order to experience an event. And when you're in this event, you can play these gold cards to influence the outcome, stealing opportunities from other people. And then you get the action phase where everybody's playing action cards against each other. So there's a lot of mayhem going on. It's very indicative of a pirate ship experience where wacky, crazy shenanigans can happen, firing cannons at each other, swashbuckling, and all of that other stuff. So if 2 or more players finish in the same round, they trigger an end game. It's the final battle. You roll your battle dice until there's no one left standing but one who walks away with the booty and is crowned the champion of the game. You can download the rule book now if you want to get a preview of the game before you back it. But honestly, I would just back it. I believe right now it's going for about $65. And for that, you get the base game and access to the pledge manager just in case you want to back some more stuff. Add some more stuff on, because you know how much I love a thick chip, and they have tons of extra cool components to add on, as well as like box organizers and cool stuff like that. So definitely check it out. You got about 20 days to go. But I got to roll on to the next Kickstarter that I have, because I didn't bring just one. I brought two today. Okay.
Overachiever.
Yeah. So maybe you've heard of a game called Role Player. And perhaps if you haven't heard of that one, you've heard of many of the other role player tales in its franchise. Well, here comes another one you may not have heard of that's being kickstarted right now. It's called Dawn of Eulos. Manipulate the rise and fall of mortals and shape a new world in this tile-laying game for 1 to 5 players. So we have seen the dice rolling game. We have seen the lockup game where you're trying to break out of jail together. We've even seen the roll and write game. Well, here comes a game that has no dice at all. It's all laying tiles and playing cards. So in this, you are playing as different gods of Eulos, and you are trying to not just watch and build the world and see how it develops, but you're also seeing the warring factions and the different types of creatures that are taking over in this world. And then you slap down cards and make them fight each other, and you bet on who's going to win. As different factions gain different amounts of influence, hopefully you have bet on the right faction, because earlier on, it's very cheap to bet on ones that you don't know how they're going to fare. But then you have to play cards to make them win, make sure that they're in the lead. Now, other people want to jump on and also root for that faction and get some favor as well with the gods that way. So they'll have to pay a premium for that kind of thing. It looks really fun. There are some cool preview content already on the Kickstarter, and you can back it for just $59 or more. You can get the Godling game and tiles. You get the Rift tile pack that comes with it. You saw me playing with Acropolis earlier today. I am very much on the hex tile laying train. There's been sort of like a surge lately of like tile laying games, especially with the hex tiles. So I'm very, very happy to see it. It plays 1 to 5 players. It's got ages up to 14 plus, but that's just a suggestion. You can definitely play it with other people who can understand it, right? And it plays about 60 to 90 minutes. Wow. This is going to be a really cool game. I hope you check it out. You got only 17 days to back it if you really want to. And check out the link in chat if you want to back it today.
Well, Counselor, those are 2 excellent suggestions. I'm having trouble picking which one I like most. I love Liar's Dice. That is a great game. So somebody taking that game, that core mechanic, and building on it. And then the other game has gods, which I love gods. I mean, fictionally, not real gods.
And you get to be one.
And you get to be a god. It's pretty kind. I know that as the judge, I should be very calm and stern and austere, but that sounds really cool.
Well, don't worry, Peter. That's what TableTakes is for. You get to be as excited about board games as you want to be. Unfortunately, though, that brings us to the end of this segment and the end of our episode of TableTakes today. But don't go anywhere, because right after this, in just 1/2 hour, you get to watch the incredible Dungeon Crawl Classics, where I will be judging everyone in a game of the Accursed Heart of the World Ender. It's a hyper deadly game. I hope you check it out. Noir Enigma's going to be there. You don't want to miss it. Let me send us off for today. Coming up right after game night today, we have Sarah's Table, as always, at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to have some joyful gaming and something called Once Upon a Crime. Ooh, very exciting. We'll have Nerd Botchery Adventures on Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. PST. Make sure you check it out. And for those of you who don't know our streaming schedule, we got board games with the Brothers Murph on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we've got Out of Character with Mark Tassif. On Wednesdays, we've got Actor Roki Series 3. Peter?
Yes. Woohoo.
This is one of the last episodes, isn't it?
Yeah, we're on the last episode of Series 3, but there will be more episodes after Series 3.
We're going to have another series. I can't wait to see who's in it. And on Thursdays, we have at 10 a.m. Blood on the Clock Tower, where you can join in a game of Blood on the Clock Tower, a deduction game. And we also have at 4 p.m. on Thursdays, Roll with Rem Alternus. And then, of course, you can join us back here every Friday at 2 p.m. for TableTakes, TableTakes Game Night, and Sarah's Table right afterward. Thank you so much to all of our viewers. Thank you, Peter and Bonsai, for joining me. Thank you to our lovely producer, Arthur, filling in for God King Marcus today, our demigod king, demigod prince Arthur. Thank you so much for joining us. We've had such a great time. I hope you'll stick around. In just 1/2 hour, we'll be right back.